Belvedere shooter turns himself in at the Phillipsburg police station. Prime Minister clarifies the distinction for Member of Parliament of the United Democrats. And acting chairman of the Rent Tribunal talks of the challenges being faced with the closing of their office. Those are the headlines for Friday, August 28, 2020. Good evening, viewers. This is SXM Daily News. I am Valerie Van Putten. Thank you for joining me. Now, we have a packed newscast for you this evening, so let's get started. In our first story, the St. Martin Rent Tribunal, an entity tasked with settling landlord-tenant issues, recently spoke to SXM Daily News about the biggest challenge with the closing of their office due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Mr. Errol Larmini, the tribunal's acting chairman, told us how they are planning to resolve that issue.
Where I would like to begin with, Valerie, is really with the situation that not only we, not only St. Martin, but around the globe, everyone, every institution is faced with, and that is the present pandemic. Okay? It is not a situation that we created. It's a situation that it overcame us.
It happened.
It happened.
Yeah.
Okay? Now, it happened without any kind of warning, without any kind of... So from one day to the next, you find yourself saying, hey, you have to first put everything on a halt and then try to figure out how we are going to work this out in a way that is not only safe for the people that come to us, but is also safe for us.
Exactly.
Okay? It is not sensible. It is wrong. It is irresponsible for any department, any office, any setting where service is being rendered to the public. It is irresponsible to let the people come to you without knowing that all the measures are in place where they can come and just focus on the issues at hand rather than on their own safety. So that is the situation that the Rent Tribunal is faced with. The setting that anybody who knows the office knows that the setting is not conducive to a safe environment given the present pandemic that we are faced with. The distancing. The people call it social distancing. Well, I want to call it safe distancing, right? The safe and hygienic distancing measures that has to be in place. We are working on that. It is not completely in our hands. We are depending on the work that has to be done by others. So until that situation has been declared safe for public, we are going to have to continue to operate under the conditions and the facilities that we have available to us. And those facilities available to us, unfortunately, are limited to, if you have any issues, send us an email.
And SXM Daily News will have more for you with the members of the Rent Tribunal in Monday's edition of our broadcast. And you can hear the entire interview, which will be aired on Sunday, August the 30th, on the Voice of St. Martin Radio, PJD2 1300 AM and PJD3 102.7 FM from 2 to 3 p.m. on a special edition of Now You Know. And Minister of Education, the Honorable Rodolphe Samuel, speaking to reporters on Wednesday last at the weekly Council of Ministers virtual press briefing, the minister is asking all schools to report any COVID-related cases as they are confirmed.
As COVID-19 cases continue to surge within the community of St. Martin, and more specifically among the younger demographic, it is important that all schools report any COVID-related cases as they are confirmed. This will allow the proper steps to be taken in order to further mitigate the spread of the virus within the community. As a part of St. Martin's Education Continuity Plan, all public and subsidized schools were provided with 2 forms, which consist of a step-by-step guidelines in the event a student or staff member has contracted the COVID-19 virus. The 2 forms addresses specific steps to follow in the event that 1, the infected person is present at school, and 2, the infected person is not present at school. In addition to these forms, the schools were also provided with a separate reporting form that addresses the specific scenario. School boards are reminded to make use of the forms in the event a student or staff member has contracted the COVID-19 virus. As the ministry works towards establishing an enabling environment for education continuity during these challenging times, it is our hope that all students will be accommodated and would have adapted to the new online learning approach. The support and cooperation of the community of St. Martin, particularly the parents and teachers, is sincerely appreciated and recognized. We are stronger together.
And in more news for you at this time, viewers, TALAM's group taking major steps to facilitate virtual learning environment in St. Martin's schools. The St. Martin's primary telecommunications provider, TALAM Group, is responding positively to its new role in the St. Martin community as virtual classroom provider. TALAM Group recently upgraded 5 public schools with an unprecedented internet connection package specially created for schools on the island so that teachers can connect with students in remote classroom scenarios. SXM Daily News spoke to TALAM's Group CEO, Mr. Kendall Dupersoy, who tells us more.
We knew that it would be a few months at least, and maybe even permanently, that there will be at least a section of our educational system that would probably be online. I probably think that even after the COVID is gone, that there's going to be instances where maybe extra lessons or whatever can be done for students at home, or when a student is sick, they may be able to log in and be able to follow classes even though they are not able to attend school. So once we realized that, we said, you know what, we're going to have to assist the schools in getting enough bandwidth coming to the schools to be able to supply the online education. Now, what is happening right now is that teachers at their homes are trying to log in, and the students are logging into the homes of the teachers. Now, most people have 12, 16, 8 bandwidth. They don't have an upload speed, which is the one that's really important for online learning, is only 2. So being that it's such a limited bandwidth, we knew that there would be issues, and once 5, 10, 15, 20 students logged into the teacher's internet at their home, it would be a problem. So we could have done one thing, go around by 450, 600 teachers and try to upgrade all the teachers, or we can upgrade the schools. So what we did, we decided to upgrade the schools with 50 megabytes download and 10 megabyte upload, so that the teachers can then go to the schools and then be able to give their classes from inside of the school. And that would mean that several students would be able to log in without a problem. Now, the way how the system is, Ricardo, if we just want to upgrade any part of that, we can do it. We started off with a 50-10 because we figured that based on the amount of students that per class and per teacher in the class, that would be enough. If we realize it's not enough, we can always upgrade it. What we also said is that the students now have to have devices. So we're in discussion with the Ministry of Education to assist them in purchasing devices at a good price to be able to give it to the students that need those devices so that those students can also log into the system and work. At the schools, however, there were also some other things that needed to be done. There was PBXs, which their telephone system would need to be upgraded. Some internal networking would have to be upgraded when it comes to cabling and switches and routers and stuff like that. So we're also assisting the Ministry of Education with upgrading the schools in that respect as well, so that it could be really a good experience for the students as they log into the system. And even, like we said, further down, if the school decides we're going to do what, we're going to have half the kids come into the school and half stay out every other day, or however they want to do it, we know that's also going to be possible for them to do it with this upgrade that we're doing now. We started off with the public schools, the 7 of them, but the intention is to upgrade all the schools on the island until we have a possibility of doing it at every school. And the bandwidth that we're providing to the schools will be given free of charge.
And still to come, KNOP says no loan for Curaçao, Aruba, and St. Martin without an agreement. And I'll have the detail to that story and much more when SXM Daily News returns.
GEBE has been faithfully serving the communities of St. Martin, powering your home and our economy. Come rain or shine, our qualified team of professionals are working hard 24 hours a day to provide you and your family with safe, reliable electricity and water. We use the latest technologies and test our products daily to maintain the highest international standards. Our friendly staff is always there to assist you, whether in person, over the phone, or online. We are committed to constantly improving our products and services, making them more efficient, effective, and environmentally friendly to serve you better today and our next generation of clients tomorrow. GEBE, powering a brighter future.
Our friend Megawati is here with tips to save you energy. 1. Turn your airco temperature up. 2. Use a ceiling fan instead. 3. Buy energy-saving products. Save some green with NVGEBE.
Welcome back, viewers. You're watching SXM Daily News, and I'm Valerie van Putten. As the news continues now with this item out of the Netherlands, Undersecretary of Kingdom Relations Raymond Knops is relentless that Curaçao, Aruba, and St. Martin will not receive new loans if they have not first complied with all the conditions attached to the second tranche and there is political agreement on the requirements set by the Netherlands for the third installment. The Undersecretary underlines this in his answer to questions from the second chamber of the Dutch Parliament. The answer shows that the Dutch government is not prepared to make any concessions to the conditions set, of which the establishment of a Caribbean reform entity entirely under Dutch control is the most controversial part. Knops makes no mistake about this. The organization of the entity is funded with Dutch tax money. The financial and other resources that the entity will provide in the performance of its tasks are also, in any case, in the first instance, entirely provided by the Dutch citizen. That is why the entity has also been designed as a Dutch independent administrative body. And in view of this choice, it is easy to explain that the members of the entity are appointed by the Minister of the Interior and Kingdom Relations. Knops denies that the constitutional autonomy of the countries are being affected. With the powers assigned in the proposal to the Caribbean Reform Entity, an independent administrative body under Dutch law, this autonomy is sufficiently safeguarded in the Cabinet's opinion. It is important to note that the entity will not take over any legal and regulatory powers from the national bodies of Aruba, Curaçao, and St. Martin, but will only be able to act in a supportive manner and in the sphere of supervision. Time is running out for the countries. The funds from the first two tranches have now been largely spent, and the bottom of the treasury is beginning to come into view. The Kingdom Council of Ministers will meet again on September the 11th. And as we continue now with other news, at the continuation of the urgent plenary public session of Parliament about the lack of implementation of the various approved programs and projects of the Trust Fund, the upcoming hurricane season, the lack of approval of various programs that are beneficial to the economic reform and growth of the country, and the reconstruction funds for St. Martin sat in a public session on Thursday, August the 27th. The meeting was adjourned from July the 28th, 2020. The Council of Ministers was in attendance. Member of Parliament for the United Democrats, Sarah Westcott Williams, queried the tardiness in getting these projects going. The Member of Parliament asked whether they can receive an update from government regarding the progress and movement after the report.
Mr. Chairman, this is Hurricane Irma reconstruction money. Look at where we stand. In the meantime, since then, and all we have is a finger pointing in terms of where the fault lies for the delay and the slowness and the tardiness in getting these projects going. Very specifically, if the Prime Minister, the government, any minister involved with these programs can indicate to Parliament whether the report by the World Bank, their semi-annual report, the one ending June 2020, has anything changed where that is concerned. Anything, any progress, any movement. That's my question. So can we receive from the government of St. Martin an update nearly 2 months after this report? Has the government been able to make any strides in discussions with the Netherlands and the World Bank regarding speeding up, doing what is necessary to get this money allocated to either these projects or other projects considered important to St. Martin? Capacity should not be an excuse when from the very same fund, the World Bank can use whatever funds necessary for it to get all the resources, administrative, technical, you name it, to support its role in being the administrator of this program. So has any discussions in that regard taken place? Has the government of St. Martin called out the government of the Netherlands and the state secretary in particular, who was the signer who signed with the World Bank the administrative agreement that underpins this particular trust fund, regarding a passage in that administrative agreement that says that as much as possible, the monies allocated shall be in the interest of St. Martin, not only for the projects, but to make sure that the St. Martin people, the St. Martin contractors, there's any group from St. Martin can be part of this program. And I'm paraphrasing the clause in the administrative agreement. The Dutch government committed itself to that part. Have we called out the Dutch government? Have we been able to show the Dutch government where that is not taking place?
And Prime Minister of St. Martin, the Honorable Sylvania Jacobs, in responding to the Member of Parliament, the Honorable Westcott Williams' question, clarified the distinction for the MP.
Member of Parliament asked a question or for clarification related to the establishment agreement on whether or not it's a vesting agreement and the basis of the administrative agreement, etc., between NL and the World Bank. I would like to clarify that the establishment agreement is, yes, a vesting agreement between St. Martin and the World Bank. As I mentioned, we do not have the law in place that would regulate a UN-type establishment or UN-type entity, which the World Bank functions as when it establishes offices internationally. So they would just want the same rights and provisions to be made for their employees as they are all over the world where they have signed establishment agreements. And because we've never had one before, that legislation still needs to be worked out, and it is between the World Bank and St. Martin. The administrative agreement is that what was signed between the Netherlands and the World Bank. So that established the trust fund and is managing the trust fund project. So that's the distinction between those two agreements. and the establishment agreement is yet to be signed because the legislation has to be finalized. And I am not aware of any other legislation that would be needed to be put in place.
Now, turning to our weather forecast for August the 28th, 2020, a tropical wave located about 900 miles east of the Windward Islands is moving westward at about 15 miles per hour. This system is producing an area of showers and thunderstorms, and some gradual development is possible during the next several days. So the outlook through Sunday midday, fair to partly cloudy, breezy, and hazy. Now let's turn to your 3-day forecast. And still to come, 100% of businesses impacted by closure of the border. We'll have the details of that story and more when SXM Daily News returns.
Make use of WIB mobile banking with easy access and direct usage of face recognition, PIN code, or fingerprint. Download WIB mobile banking app and make your transaction from anywhere at any time. For more information, visit wib-bank.net/quick-login.
Welcome back, viewers. You're watching SXM Daily News. And in other news for you at this time, discussion on the pre-announced joint letter sent by the respective Chamber of Commerce presidents to both island governments was elaborated on during the virtual press conference and exposed the scale of concern the chambers feel over what were described as a one-sided and hastily implemented border closure without exploring other options, consequently of which are being acutely felt. In a letter sent by both chambers of commerces on both sides of the island, it urges the government decision makers to reconvene and reconsider and find common ground to reopen the border to rescue what little is left of the economy and to find an alternative, more effective joint approach to managing the health crisis. The letter is also being forwarded to the French ministries. The downward spiral experienced by businesses on both sides worsened significantly by the border closure on July the 31st, warranted the action taken by the two chambers to sound the alarm on behalf of the business communities. French side Chamber of Commerce President Angèle Dormoy went so far as to say 100% of businesses have been impacted by the border closure in one way or another. Due to the nature of living on one side of the island and doing business on the other, she said an enormous number of businesses, not including the annual vacation period of August and September for closures, had either closed, modified the status, or gone into dormancy. Division was a key word that struck a nerve with Dormoy. As a born St. Martiner, I have never in my life seen a division of the territory. We have survived hurricanes and all sorts of disasters, but have never been divided, she said. She noted that the prefecture had stated in July in a reply to a letter from the chamber that health was more important than the economy. Benjamin Ortega and Dormoy both agree that the border closure has not helped bring the number of COVID-19 cases down. To the contrary, there are many more cases now than there were in March when the territory was in lockdown. And as we continue now with our series with Caribbean Alliance Insurances about disaster preparedness, we spoke to the branch manager, Ms. Cynthia Rothberg, about what to do after the hurricane has passed. According to Ms. Rothberg, one of the things that we need to ensure that we do before is to fill our gas tanks and get some cash from the ATM, as there is no guarantee that the ATMs will be operational once the storm passes.
If the authorities allow it, if you have a disaster pass, it all depends. And one of the things I forgot to mention is also make sure your tank before the storm has enough. You fuel up, make sure you have enough cash, because that's the moment the ATM machines don't work, you can make use of your cards. So make sure you have enough cash in the house, cash if needed, should you be able to use it, and that you have fuel up. And driving around, again, you know, there are nails, anything can happen. There are loose objects on the road. So again, listen to what the authority is saying before you go on the road. If not needed, do not, because there are other people that people from me and fire department, they are the one that have to be on the road, the police, to also assess the damages, go on the road and see what is done, what can be done, what should be done to secure the people. So you going on the road, you will be an obstruction, so to say. So just stay put, do what you have to do. If you can help a neighbor, do in your immediate surrounding. Start looking around you, who you can help, where you can assist, instead of going on the road.
And still to come, Belvedere shooter turns himself in at the Phillipsburg police station. And I'll have the details of that story when SXM Daily News returns. Welcome back, viewers. And as we end this edition of SXM Daily News for this evening, as reported on SXM Daily News last evening, that we will have more information about the shooting in Belvedere earlier this week, the police have now confirmed that on Thursday morning, August the 27th, a young man with the initials SML appeared at the police station in Phillipsburg to turn himself in for his involvement in the shooting that took place in Belvedere. The shooting resulted in one fatality during the evening hours on August 25th, 2020. The suspect, SML, who was accompanied by his lawyer, was arrested without incident. He is being held at the police station pending further investigation. This investigation is still ongoing, and more information will be provided as it becomes available. SXM Daily News reported last evening that it was two persons. We now have come to understand that it was only one person who was involved in the shooting. We do apologize for that error. And with that, viewers, it brings us to the end of this edition of SXM Daily News for this evening. I am Valerie Van Putten. Thank you so much for joining me. And just a reminder that this and other programs are available online. Simply log on to stmartinmediacenter.com for viewing. And on behalf of the SXM Daily News team, we thank you for watching and plan on meeting you right back here again on Monday. Do enjoy a safe weekend.